Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Sector 5. I'm your host, as always, Cody the Hangman Heinzman. And it has been a while, but WrestleMania is right around the corner, and it'd be a shame if I did not at least do a pay-per-view prediction for WrestleMania. So, that is what I'm here for. So, let's get started. As always, the way I do it, I'm going to talk about all the non-title matches, and then we'll talk about the title matches. So, we're going to get started with an interesting one. So, we have future Cody here to intervene here for a second. A little bit of a backstory on what's going on, reason that there has to be future me intervening into this video. I prematurely did my predictions last week. This is a week later that I'm doing these ones now, as WrestleMania is this Sunday and not last Sunday like I thought it was. So there isn't much that future Cody needs to intervene with, but the few things that I do need to intervene with, you'll notice A, different background, B, a different outfit, and not really a C, but I'm saying C because it seemed like there was a C there. So, again, if you see this Cody, it's future Cody. Alright. We're going to talk about the game Triple H versus Batista. And if Triple H loses, then he retires, pretty much. So it's pretty much a retirement match for Triple H. That's to say, if he lost the match to Batista, which I don't think is going to happen. I actually think Triple H is going to win it. Mainly for the fact that with all the jabs, I haven't been keeping up with WrestleMania. I mean, with WWE in general, I could not tell you the last time I've actually watched a Raw or a Smackdown, but I do keep up with it, like, via YouTube, what I see on there, or see through social media. And one of the jabs that was brought up was the fact that Batista only quit after he didn't beat John Cena. So I don't see Triple H leaving to a guy that couldn't beat John Cena, is one of the things. Batista is a good athlete and a good wrestler and a future Hall of Famer, but I don't think Triple H is going to go out facing Batista. This is also a no-holds-barred match, by the way. I forgot to bring up that stipulation. So anyways, let's move on. We have Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match, which Shane O'Mac's going to win. I feel like that's kind of obvious. Why would he lose to The Miz? It's just one of those things. Nothing against The Miz, but last year we had Shane O'Mac and Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Shane O'Mac won. I don't see Shane McMahon losing a match at WrestleMania. At least not nowadays. I couldn't tell you back in the past, but sticking to my thoughts now, Shane O'Mac losing to The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match at WrestleMania doesn't seem to be in the cards. Next up, I have AJ Styles versus the Viper Randy Orton. And that is going to be a good match, in my opinion. Sorry about rubbing my nose so much. My nose is running. I wish I had something else besides my sleeve, but here we are. Apologize again. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. I am going to give this one to Randy Orton. If it was for the title, then I probably would go more towards AJ Styles. But this is just kind of, here's a match. So, I'm going to give it to the Viper, Randy Orton. Next up, I have Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin in Kurt Angle's farewell match. And I don't want to say that Kurt Angle is going to lose to Baron Corbin. The fact that it's a farewell match makes me want to think Corbin's going to pick up the win. But I have to give it to Kurt Angle. And we'll see what goes on from there, to be honest. Why this match is even a thing, I really don't know. I can understand it being a thing because Kurt Angle was general manager of Monday Night Raw, and then they gave it to Baron Corbin. But that was more of a factor around the time that happened. Why Kurt Angle is facing Baron Corbin in his farewell match at WrestleMania, I do not know. So, with that being said, Kurt Angle walks out with the victory. Finally, the last non-title match that we have is Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre, giving it to Roman Reigns. Be his first singles match since returning back from his bout with leukemia. He did at Fastlane. He was tagged up with Ambrose and Rollins for what's supposed to be the last time for the Shield. This is his first singles match, and aside from it giving McIntyre somewhat of a push if he does beat Reigns, there's really no reason for McIntyre winning against Roman Reigns. So I have to give it to Roman Reigns. This is kind of like the AJ Styles... talking fast. This is kind of like the AJ Styles Randy Orton match. This is just kind of a match to be thrown in there. So Reigns takes a win over McIntyre. So with all that being said, let's talk about titles. Technically not a title, but it's in the title area. We have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which will most likely be part of the kickoff show. And maybe one of these... Well, I was going to say one of these other non-title matches will probably be part of the kickoff show too, but looking at the names, it's probably not going to happen. We'll probably have the Cruiserweight title in there again. But I'll digress from that. We had the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And I feel like I'd be dumb if I didn't say Braun Strowman's going to pick up the win, given the fact that if it's 30 men like it usually is, 2 of the men in the match are celebrities, which would lead me to believe that one of those 2 might pick up the win for it, but I don't think so. I'm going to give it to Braun Strowman, given the fact that really no other build-up has been for this match except for Braun Strowman. I don't even know any other names that will be in the Memorial Battle Royal, to be honest with you. I think one other person may have mentioned it, but I can't think of who it would be right now. I just know Braun Strowman and the 2 guys from some show. I couldn't tell you. Their names, I didn't write it down or anything, but they're from some TV show. You know what it is. Again, I haven't watched a Raw and a Smackdown for a while. So, there's that. Next up, something to talk about. This is another match that wasn't... It may have been out there, but they didn't have it on WWE, and I couldn't find it. is the women's Battle Royal match. This is where it comes into the fact that later on in the video I'm talking about the women's match, which I thought may turn into a fatal 4-way match, which I can officially say isn't going to happen because the fourth person I thought would have been in the match is going to be in the Women's Battle Royal, Asuka. So, my thoughts with that one is I kind of have 3 people that I think is going to win it. Asuka being one of them. But she's maybe number 3 on the list. If I'm going in order from 1 to 3, where 1 is who I think is definitely going to win it, she's the last person I think going to win it. Like a last ditch, here's this win because we took the Smackdown Live Women's Championship from you. If I'm going with who I think might win it, I don't even know if she's in the match, but Lacey Evans. She's all she's been doing lately is coming out and making her appearance known. I think she's going to do that during the Women's Battle Royal and end up winning it. And another person that I have is Nikki Cross, of technically part of Sanity, but not part of Sanity anymore. It's a weird gray area with her. So, in order from least likely to win, Asuka, to most likely to win, Lacey, which is a weird way of putting it. Speaking of the Cruiserweight title that I brought up, we have Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese for the Cruiserweight Championship, and I think Tony Nese is going to take the title. It is interesting to see 2 heels going at it for the title, but then again, last year at WrestleMania, we had 2 faces. So, you know, the Cruiserweight title really kind of sort of gets the shaft in WWE. And it's kind of a shame that that's the case. Because, like, there for a while, it was a big deal. And now I don't even think we get the Cruiserweight match on Monday Night Raw, like we used to. Again, I haven't watched in a while. I hate to keep reiterating that, but I don't even think we have that Cruiserweight match. It's just all 205 Live, and I think WWE's kind of hoping that we forget about the Cruiserweights. But once again, I'll digress from that. Let's talk about the United States Championship match. We have Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. Rey Mysterio's son is going to be will be ringside for the match as well. And I'm going to give it to Samoa Joe. I think Samoa Joe will retain his championship. Rey has had his time in WWE. Unless they want to give it to Rey and then squash shortly after next pay-per-view, I don't know. But I think Samoa Joe will have his run with the United States Championship for at least a couple pay-per-views, let's say. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. And I'm thinking Bobby Lashley is going to retain the Intercontinental Championship. One of my thoughts with this is that I'm thinking that once things get flipped around, we're supposed to shake up things again, that the United States Championship will go back to Monday Night Raw, and the Intercontinental Championship will go back to SmackDown. The past few years, the Intercontinental and United States Championships have flipped brands after WrestleMania. And I don't see Finn Balor going to SmackDown. I don't know why I have that feeling, but I have that weird feeling that Finn Balor is going to stay on Monday Night Raw for, like, some time. Uh, it's a weird feeling I have. So, if the titles are going to flip, that's why I'm thinking Bobby Lashley is going to retain it. Because I could see Bobby going to SmackDown more than I could see Finn Balor. Finn seems to be like a Monday Night Raw guy. It seems like WWE wants him on Monday nights and not on SmackDown. We'll digress again from that. And then another match that was just made official tonight, because this is after SmackDown. The Usos versus Alister Black, Ricochet versus the Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro versus one other team. It's not coming to mind. I'm trying to think of who else was in this match. Oh, who else was in the match? It was on the side with the Bar. Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. It came to me finally. Which ironically is who I think might actually pick up the title, is Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's a long shot, but it's something I used to say a lot on these. WrestleMania, it's unpredictable. And they might just give it to Shinsuke and Rusev for lulz. For no reason, but then for lulz. Okay, so there was one more match that was brought up that even future Cody wasn't able to talk about. So, a future Cody from future Cody has to talk about this one. Again, sorry about the fact that the future Cody had to be included because of my ineptitude to know what days are anymore. But one more match was added that this Cody will have to take care of. And it is the Raw Tag Team Championship. Finally, they actually gave them a match. It's going to be Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder of the Revival taking on Zack, Ryder and Curt Hawkins for the Raw Tag Team Championship. And I'm iffy on where I want to go with this. My thoughts is going to be Zack, Ryder and Curt Hawkins are going to win. But given that I've done all my predictions and I'm thinking about it in the middle of this, it's kind of weird where I place this. Because I know I have to have some of these wrong. Because I feel like I have too many titles flipping hands. Of course, that's a little bit of a spoiler because this is kind of in the middle of the video, but this is kind of future Cody interrupting a little bit here. So, I'm going to give it to Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins, and I can't wait to see what matches I have wrong. Anyways, back to not only past Cody, but also future past Cody. Let's talk about WWE Championship match, which I'm biased. I'm a little biased with this. Also, I hope this doesn't bother anyone's hearing. I'm going to get away from the mic now. Reason I'm biased for this one. We have Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston, WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And originally, before I started this video, I couldn't even think to start to imagine saying Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. Then I slowly remembered that Kofi has had one or two opportunities at the title before and lost against Orton. I think both times was against Orton that he's ever got a chance. But to think that this is going to be at WrestleMania, we got Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston. I am giving it to Kofi, and I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I would love it to have that moment of Kofi Kingston winning the title at WrestleMania. One, he's going to become a Grand Slam champion if he does win the title. And I think it's time for Kofi Kingston to win the title. I don't... This is if it stays as a one-on-one match. With everything that's been going on with Kofi getting to the title match, having to go through the gauntlet and then losing it, then giving that Big E and Xavier Woods won the gauntlet to give Kofi the chance. I'm giving it to Kofi, but I'm not going to keep my hopes too high because I don't know how or what's going to happen interference-wise or what's going to go down in that match. All I know is I hope, and I'm putting it, that Kofi Kingston walks out WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and I will be ecstatic. And I kind of hope that this ends the New Day slightly. I want the Boom Nation back. I want singles Kofi Kingston back. I mean, the New Day can stay together with Big E and Xavier. They can go on and do their thing, but I want my singles Kofi back. I've been on this for a little bit too long. I'm sorry. Anywho, let's move on. We're going to talk about the Universal Championship match next. And usually I would put this one maybe towards the end, but given that we know what the main event is, I'm talking about that match last, given it's the main event. So, I digress. We'll go back. Universal Championship match. We have Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. Universal Championship match. I'm going to give it to Seth Rollins. There was a part of me, small part of me when thinking about it, thinking that Lesnar's going to retain, and then we would see Lesnar facing Roman Reigns again, so Roman Reigns could win back the title. But when I got to thinking about it more, I'm thinking that what we're going to see, Seth Rollins will win the title at Mania. And then at the next pay-per-view, maybe, or they'd work it towards SummerSlam, we would have a triple threat. Rollins, Reigns, and Lesnar for the Universal Championship. That's thoughts for down the road. Given that Lesnar only shows up for certain pay-per-views, it's kind of hard to think he'd be at the next one, but who knows? We'll see what happens down the line. But currently, Rollins is my pick. Which leads us to the Women's Tag Team Championship match. I left the women at the end, given that the women is the main event at Mania. For the Women's Tag Team, we have Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya versus Peyton Royce and Billie Kay versus Nia Jax and Tamina. A fatal four-way match for the Tag Team Championship. And I'm thinking and giving it to Beth Phoenix and Natalya. It's a stretch, the reason I'm giving it to them. Given that Beth Phoenix is now a Hall of Famer, really nothing more to prove. I just kind of feel like they've built it up too much for Beth Phoenix and Natalya not to win it, which might be a reason why they don't. But I don't see them holding it long. I hate to be like the stats where someone loses the title the next night after WrestleMania. And if that's the case, I kind of see Beth and Natalya maybe losing the tag team championships within 24 hours. Or dropping it. I don't know. But that's my current thoughts, is that Beth Phoenix and Natalya will win the tag team championship. But we'll see what happens at Mania, of course. Which leads us to the main event. As of current, and there's a reason I will say as of current, we have Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship. And the reason I'm saying as of current with this one is because I am thinking that this is going to turn into a fatal 4-way match. Given that on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair took the SmackDown Women's Championship from Asuka. So now we have Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch versus SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair. I'm thinking that the Women's Championship is going to get unified. I think that the match is going to turn into a fatal 4-way, including Asuka, for a unified Women's Championship. That is my current prediction with it. Either way, if it's the triple threat match for just the Raw Championship, or they do unify it and make it a fatal 4-way, I'm thinking that Charlotte Flair is going to walk out with either both Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship or the unified Women's Championship. Alright, so I talked about this match a little bit last week. The main event. I had a feeling it was going to turn into a either unification or where both titles are on the line, and that is official now. That is something that's officially happening. Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch, triple threat match for Raw and SmackDown titles. And again, I said, even if it became a fatal 4-way where they added Asuka, which is officially not going to happen, I still said Charlotte Flair was going to win either way. Also, you may have noticed me looking over this way. I'm recording at a buddy's house, so I'm just kind of looking at his reactions a little bit. Just to clarify that. So, that is my thoughts on WrestleMania. I hope y'all enjoyed. I can't wait to do the review for you guys. And it's good to do these again. And as always, I'm Cody the Hangman Heinzman, and that's just how it is.